Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you, my dear, dear friends, have wandered onto the Prog Corner, the number 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what we are. We're in the top 10 somewhere. Don't count on Prog Magazine. They'll tell you that we didn't even make the top 10, but that's okay. My feelings aren't hurt at all. I don't play the victim extremely well or anything like that. I never play the victim card, do I, Kevin?
No, never.
No, it's kind of fun. I actually enjoy it. It's a little guys that I like to do. And, poor me, the long-suffering host of the Prog Corner doesn't get any respect. I'll tell you who gets respect, though. It's none other than George Lamie. His very first appearance on the Prog Corner. George, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, gentlemen.
This is going to be awesome. This episode today, in case you didn't see the title and thumbnail, is all about jazz fusion, and the clickbaity title is, I'm going to make you big here so you can, the old timers that watch the Prog Corner can actually see the visual here. It says, is jazz fusion dead, boys and girls? Oh yeah, and if you also see there, it says we are probably going to be getting Eric Porter on here. He's having some problems with connecting with the stream here today, but the whole idea behind this episode, boys and girls, was brought to me by none other than Brad Stone, also making his debut in the Prog Corner. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. Respect and love from California. I'm so glad to join your program. I watch regularly. I enjoy it. I love your expertise on progressive rock, which is near and dear to my heart, along with jazz. So glad to be here.
You see, you said the word expertise, and today, boys and girls, is going to be a lot of fun, because this is the one day where I don't feel any pressure at all to be the guy that knows stuff, right? I am a self-proclaimed idiot when it comes to modern jazz fusion. I was going through the list of jazz fusion records from 2024. I was actually surprised and impressed with myself that I actually knew 2 of them, right? That's sad. That is sad, but this whole idea behind doing a jazz fusion episode, Brad came up to me and he's like, hey man, I would love to do like the top jazz fusion records of 2024. And I'm like, that's a really good idea, but I know nothing about it. I didn't even think I'd be able to name one jazz fusion record that came out in 2024. So imagine my surprise when I knew actually 2 of them. I'd listened to, well, we'll get into that later. We've got none other than Eric Porter, also joining the Prog Corner for the very first time. Eric, yes.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
My life is complete. I can't get Steve Howe or Rick Wakeman or John Anderson to come on the Prog Corner. Of course not. But I don't care. I've got George Lamie and Eric Porter in the house. You know who else we've got, Kevin? He was so good last time, man. He was so good last time that he asked if he could join in on the Jazz Fusion episode. And I said, you know what? Why not? From parts unknown, somewhere driving along the highways and byways of Ohio, it's none other than Kiefer Livingston. How you doing today, Kiefer? Welcome back.
Good. How are you, Scott? And everybody else?
We're outstanding. Where are you going, by the way?
To my house. So I'm just coming back from Oxford.
No, you needed something better than that. Okay, he's driving home. He could have said you're going, to a record store or something like that, or you're, going to see grandma in Canada, or you're fleeing the cops, or you're shooting an episode for your TikTok, anything. But anyway, I am really, really excited because, like I said, I usually am the guy that needs to know stuff. I feel very relaxed today. Do you feel it? I'm very calm today. Because admittedly, I know nothing about this subject. I really don't. So we have front-loaded this thing with absolute monsters of the genre, right? The Titans, Kevin. This is an all-star cast right here. I'm excited.
Well, it's an all-star cast other than you and I for the same reason. I mean, we definitely play jazz fusion on Prog Radio, but it's, Weather Report and Mahavishnu, kind of the basic stuff. So I got my notepad out. I'm taking notes. I'm looking forward to going and discovering more to put on, because the stuff we play, Pekka Bajola and these guys love it playing it. So I look forward to learning more.
I think I'm probably a bigger fusion fan than I know, because I love Pekka, right? What's not to love? He's like
Wigwam,
one
all
of the
those
best
guys,
bass players
amazing.
that ever walked the planet. You know, you look at every instrument, you know, I see a Chick Corea t-shirt being donned by George over there. You know, what's not to love about the genre? But much like prog rock, the only thing I will stand on here today, and the kind of the premise of today's episode is, much like prog rock, a lot of people come up to me and say, yeah, prog rock died in 1978, or, you know, they'll pick a date, usually somewhere between 78 and 82, right? The date prog rock died, right? And they believe that, right? Well, to a lot of people like me, I've got 617 episodes on the YouTube, boys and girls. This is exactly the second one on Jazz Fusion, okay? So clearly it's not, you know, a genre I'm really up to speed on. But, you know, there are people out there probably like me, because that first episode that I did about Jazz Fusion, I was ranking my 25 favorite. Well, they were all from the 70s. Every single one of them, right? So there's probably a lot of people that think that fusion is dead. What do you say, Eric?
Well, I don't think it's dead. I mean, I got this kind of the same as you, Scott. I mean, I was kind of on the surface for years, and George got me into everything. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's definitely not dead. There's so much music coming out, it's crazy. You know, I mean, just like you were saying, we have all kinds of artists. I just think the exposure isn't there anymore.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and that's what we want to do. And George clearly is one of those guys who's kind of, you know, been talking about it for a long, long time, has this ginormous reputation. He's kind of the king, right? The king of fusion on YouTube. You think of George, right? So George, when Brad came to me with this episode idea to do, you know, just talk about new fusion, right? We don't need to be talking about all the stuff from the 70s all the time. What is the state of the genre in your eyes, through the lens of the great YouTube sensation George Lamie, who knows more about jazz fusion in his pinky than I know in my whole body? What is the state of fusion right now, George?
Commercially, it is dead. I mean, just like prog is dead. I mean, it's more dead than prog. Commercially, it's nowhere. It's off the map. But creatively, it's as good as it ever was. I get 50, 60 fusion albums a year. I like it just as much as the 70s stuff. Every bit.
So I'm seeing maybe some parallels there between what's going on. Because honestly, a lot of the prog that's coming, man, Kevin, I just got the new JPL. I know we're supposed to be talking about, you know, fusion and whatnot, but I mean, if that would have come out in 1972 or 73, he would have been one of the biggest stars on planet Earth. So yeah, the music that's coming out today is every bit as good as it was in the 70s. So the task at hand, Brad, was to come up with a list of some awesome new fusion artists, because I don't know a whole bunch, right? I know that Tony Levin album came out last year, was great. I know the Kenzo album was great. Crocofant just put out a new record that I thought was really good. You know, but as far as modern stuff, throw a couple artists, throw a couple records out. We're going to go around the horn. I want to talk about some modern jazz fusion artists that you've been listening to that fans of prog rock would get into.
Well, you know, Scott, for my program on soulandjazz.com, I feature all new releases. Like 99% of my program is new releases.
All right, plug the show. When, how, where?
Yeah, so it's called The Creative Source. It streams on demand, so you can listen to it anytime you want. It's typically about 2.5 hours long per week. So it's on soulandjazz.com. Again, streams on demand. So if you figure I do, say, 45 to 50 new shows a year, and if I include 10 new releases per episode, 500 new releases. If 10% of it is jazz fusion, which I do emphasize, because it's near and dear to my heart, that's about 50 new releases a year. So I completely agree with both Eric and George. Creatively, it's alive and well, and I think jazz in general. I mean, there's more great music coming out now than ever. So I've got a stack here of a bunch of things that came out exclusively in 2024,
Awesome.
and these are things that I'm getting a bit of an echo. I'm not sure if everyone else hears that, but
It's all right.
yeah, I think it's all right.
This ain't Rick Beato.
I think that just what I'm going to show are things that I've been serviced on. In other words, that I've been sent for airplay on my program. So I'm not going to necessarily get into some esoteric or obscure things, that, for instance, Ken Golden will show, on Sea of Tranquility. These are things that I've actually played on my program. So, and I also want to say that jazz fusion, it depends on how you define it, right? Because I always like to say jazz is fusion to begin with. So if you use the very narrow definition of jazz rock like Mahavishnu Orchestra, well, we've been there, we've done that, we love that stuff. But I think that all the releases I'm going to show would appeal to people who are into jazz fusion, okay? So here's a group called Ghost Note. It's on Mac Avenue Records. I think they're out of Los Angeles, if I remember correctly. It's a jazz, funk, rock with some Latin influences. If you like jazz funk, you're going to love this record.
Okay, don't know it. Eric, George, you know that record?
Yeah, I was actually supposed to see them in August. They ended up canceling the show here, but
Yeah.
Don't you love it when that happens? Oh, Mike Stern. Okay.
Mike
okay.
Stern, the great Mike Stern is still doing releases. And I think this one, his new one, is particularly strong. And it's just amazing that the guy's still able to play the guitar, after his horrific accident. And, you hear reports about how he has to glue his fingers together to hold a pick. And,
Hey, everybody wave at Ken Golden. How you doing, Ken?
Hey,
Best in the house.
Good to have you join us. Here's a band on the wonderful Moon June label, really important label for progressive rock and jazz fusion. And here's my Moon June t-shirt. And this is a group called Quartet Diminished out of Iran. They're Persian. I do believe they now live in Montreal, but they've been described as avant-garde fusion, pretty heavy-duty stuff. A band out of Boston, and I just love this album. They're an organ trio, but they're not simply the traditional, out of Philadelphia jazz organ trio. They do some of that kind of stuff, traditional jazz organ, but they do some heavy-duty fusion too. These guys are really incredible. So I got to put my glasses on, make sure I say their names right, but they're three real virtuosos, and they just play so well together. Pritesh Walia on guitar. This guy's a monster. And Sharik Hassan on organ, keys, and synths. Avery Logan on drums. That's why they're called PSA. Check them out of Boston. We already
Brad,
mentioned.
We got, before you go on to that Tony Levin CD I see in your hand, Alex, the great Alex from Beer and Vinyl. He was talking about that Sean Lennon record. Asterisms. Anybody hear that?
No.
He's saying it was one of the best jazz fusion releases from 2024 by Sean Lennon. Asterisms. I haven't heard it.
He did that moon pool thing, which was pretty cool. Sean.
Yeah. Just wondering.
Isn't he a singer?
Yeah.
He's something.
Now let's talk about that Tony Levin record.
Well, the Tony Levin, I think, is it's kind of all over the place. I think it's Tony kind of showcasing the fact that he can do all kinds of music. So there's some fusion, there's some rock, there's some jazz, but it's Tony, right? So all of us Tony Levin fans have to have this one. I want to talk about a band that is close to where I live. These guys I've known for a long time. They're out of San Jose, California. Wally Schnally's Idiot Fish. Any Fusion fan has got to have this. These guys are monsters on their own instruments. Wally's a drummer and a composer, and he's got a band together featuring a bassoonist.
I always like a good bassoon.
You have never heard bassoon played like on this record. So it's the Wally Schnally's Idiot Fish Quartet, okay, and Paul Hansen on the bassoon, and I would highly encourage everyone to check this group out. Risto Vichev on guitar. He's a virtuoso guitarist, originally out of Bulgaria. He's got a number of albums that he's put out on his own as well. Also, would appeal to jazz fusion fans. And Dan Robbins on bass, monster bass player. Now, here's a record that I think would appeal to jazz fusion fans. It's Returning to Forever. And so this is John Beasley, the great keyboard player. Eric's got it. And John Beasley teaming up with the Frankfurt Radio Big Band and doing big band versions of Return to Forever. And it's super cool.
Yeah, I heard about that. I seen that written up. I forget who was talking about it. And it just sounded too wacky. That's just
Probably
crazy. Does it actually work?
It's awesome.
I think it works very well. It's kind of amazing to hear big band versions. You think, oh, that's not going to work, but it does work, especially in the hands of a great arranger like John. So
Cool. Hey, we got fans around the world, Brad. We got Goran checking in from Bosnia. Greetings to you. We got Kyle from Minneapolis talking about Dream Theater for some. Oh, Liquid Tension. Yeah. They're jazzy, right? What do you think of LTE? They're fusion, right?
Yeah, just heavy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, instrumental prog.
You want me to continue on, Scott? Because I got a bunch of them.
Hey, you know what? We'll keep going for a while.
All right.
This is awesome. And anybody that wants to chime in with your picks, that's fine. Just keep going.
Since we had Bosnia checking in from nearby Serbia, we have Ayat.
Oh.
And they're a quartet, kind of dark, brooding jazz fusion. I think that ECM, people who are fans of the ECM label would love this. I personally, it really resonates with me.
I've heard
Great
of that.
band. And here's a guitarist, Dusan Jeftovic, who is out of Serbia as well. And Dusan, if you like heavy guitar, it's guitar, bass, drums. Definitely got to check that out. Goran says Ayat is fantastic. I agree.
It might have been him who recommended that to me because Goran used to run a very active Instagram page where he was reviewing like 4 or 5 records a day. It seemed sometimes, and most of them were like in the jazz and jazz fusion category. So yeah, it probably was him that recommended that to me. Julie from Montreal. We're an all-American panel today, aren't we? Oh, my. Yeah. Well. I usually try to keep it from being that way. I like to have diversity on the panel. That's why you're here, Kiefer. You're my diversity hire.
So the Headhunters are still putting out records.
No,
New record from the Headhunters with Mike Clark leading the way. Donald Harrison's also on this, so Headhunters fans.
Wow. I did not know.
The great keyboardist Rachel Z, who a lot of people will know from her tours with Peter Gabriel. She's got a record out called Sensual. Great stuff.
Got
Here's another
Barcelona
guitarist
checking
on
in.
Moon June.
Hey, Brad, we got Jordy from Barcelona checking in. We're all over the globe, man. You see
That's
this?
great.
Yeah, we're international here.
One of my favorite cities of all time.
Kiefer's cutting in and out. I guess there you go. You were getting into a bad cell reception there. You cut out for a minute, Kiefer. But that's all right. You just keep on keeping on. We love having you on the stream. What else you got for us, Brad?
We got Mark Wingfield. This is another release from Leo's great Moon June label. And Mark Wingfield, if you like experimental guitar-oriented music, at times atmospheric, improvisational, I think anything on Moon June is worth checking out, right?
Absolutely, and most of my audience probably knows and loves Moon June because of their Soft Machine connections, obviously.
Right. And here's another one on Moon June, PAKT. And again, if you like improvisational guitar-oriented fusion, then these guys, it's a lot of improvisation, featuring Alex Skolnick on guitars. And a lot of people know Alex from his rock and metal work, but Kenny Grahovsky on drums, Tim Motzler on guitars, and Percy Jones from Brand X here on fretless bass. So that's a cool one. Should we maybe allow the rest of the panel to bring up some things?
That's a splendid idea. Although the whole idea behind this show originally, Brad, was this was going to be the Brad Stone show. But no, let's see what George and Eric have to say about some current releases, some modern stuff that maybe my audience needs to know a little something about. George, what do you got for me?
Well, I did bring my top 5 from last year.
Sweet. Let's hear. Hey, so, I bet some of the people already know it, but they might not. George's top 5, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is exciting.
You got Evgeny Pobozny, Stream. This is a Russian guitar player. For my money, maybe the best guitar player in the scene right now. He's just 30 years old. The record's got banging rhythm section, Gergel Borlai and Anton Davidyans, and then a small orchestra backing, which is mostly just some strings and a couple of sax players, but it's absolutely fantastic, must have. And you got Daniel Weiss, the Vortex. This is an Israeli guitarist, Berkeley graduate. The songwriting is the key here. Very strong stuff. The whole thing is just killer. And you got from Japan, Dissolve, Asterism. This is a sprawling album, 75 minutes, 12 songs, a mixture of funky stuff and some space melting type stuff too. Really good band. Jesus Molina, Sila, a young Colombian keyboard player, as good a keyboard player as there is right now. He's like 27 years old. His records are fantastic. He's more a piano guy than a keyboard guy, but he always gets top-notch backing. Now he's got a new unit with Mohini Day on bass. She's one of the shining stars of the young fusion or bass players. And then
Kiefer's back. Yeah. Kiefer made it home. He's not in the car anymore.
The last one is Christian Tomley.
Let me see that.
Show
that again, George. Let me see that cover again. Okay.
Christian Tomley, self-titled.
Don't know him.
Young drummer. You like Dave Weckl? This dude is Dave Weckl reimagined. He sounds so much like him. All the double stroke playing, and musically, it's like the Bang and Dave Weckl band albums. Hot band behind him. It's really good stuff. People should check out also.
So was that in any particular order?
Yeah, I started.
Okay.
Pobozny was 1, and then on the way down.
Okay. Well, you have some people agreeing with you on that one record.
George, in honor of your first Prog Corner appearance, I brought a special little thing here.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
It's the Fusion Show.
He's screaming
Kiefer.
at you.
He's angry. He's not happy. Hey, Stefan wants to
I have
know
a
where
ton of
Andy
jazz.
Edwards is today. You know, it really was not an intentional oversight, nor was it a slap in the great Andy Edwards' face. But, Kevin, have you been watching his content lately? I mean, he's pulling in people like Sting. Why do you think he wants to deal with little old me and the Prog Corner? So, you know, I'm letting His Royal Highness do his royal thing over there with Sir Sting and, you know, whatever. You know, he's going to have Elton John on next. Watch. Mark my words. So, yeah, it's not a slight on the great Andy Edwards. It's actually, you know, my way of saying we're not worthy. We're simply not worthy. And Geordie... Elephant Nine, yeah, that's one of the modern bands I know. Crocofant, Elephant Nine, some of that Scandinavian fusion stuff I really, really like. What are some of the bands you've been playing, Kevin?
Like I said, I'm kind of the rookie at this. We play all the classic stuff. Weather Report, Focus, Mahavishnu, Pekka, Wigwam, Brand X. We play a lot of Brand X.
But none of the newer fusion.
Well, you know, our album of the year last year from Hungary was Solaris. Not really jazz fusion at all, but definitely in that instrumental space. The Aristocrats, stuff like that, you know. But I've just sat here the whole time, been writing every single one of these down because I'd like to add more into the rotation. Because I personally love it. All the stuff we do play, I really like.
Yeah.
There was a new album that I just got from the Cloud People. It's definitely not a hardcore jazz fusion album, but they incorporate jazz fusion, and that came from last year. But I thought that was really great. The I think Cloud People, yeah.
And I think I probably enjoy, like I was alluding to earlier, I think I enjoyed the genre more than I think I do because, you know, every time I sit down and listen to a artist that's quote-unquote fusion-y, like we brought up Kenzo out of Japan. I love Kenzo, man. They're one of my favorite bands
Look
of all
at the
time.
Tangent, The Day the Music
Tangent,
Died.
Right.
I mean, tell me you don't love that album. So
Yeah.
if you love that album, you're going to love a lot of jazz fusion.
Absolutely. And Goran's rattling off some names. Let's see if I know any of these. Crocofant, I know. A Tronosonic Experience, I know. Hooffoot, I know. I don't know
I know Crocofant.
Sex Magic Wizards, I don't know. Bushman's Revenge, I don't know. Phonics, I don't know. And Soft Power, I don't know. Unitopianisti, I don't know. Yeah, I got a lot of learning to do, man. There's a whole lot of bands out there, and it's kind of like the whole prog thing, where once you start diving in, is it as deep as the prog well, George, Eric, where you just you can go into like this rabbit hole and never come out?
Oh yeah,
That's where I am, Scott.
Oh boy, New Hooffoot coming out. That's a cool band, by the way. I do know Hooffoot. I do love them.
It's a great band name.
Yeah, right. Well, you got Deer Hoof, right? You got Deer Hunter. You got Deer Hoof, and you know, Hooffoot. This is too much. Deer Tick. Eric, what do you got for us, man? What do you want to show us that you know? Obviously, you've got a couple newbies here that don't know a whole lot, and that's probably a lot of my audience. You know, we like the jazz fusion, but we spend all our time, you know, worshiping at the altar of John Anderson and Peter Gabriel. So, you know, there's not a whole lot of time left over for other stuff, but our ears are open. What do you have for me, Eric?
You got to come to the fusion altar. But,
That's right.
these deserve just a second, you know, kind of. So I want to throw that one out.
Hey, if it's that good, it's that good, man.
Right. I had this one and the Dissolve Astras, and just these were great. I'll throw a few out. I heard Aristocrats mentioned. So I'm a guitar guy, so I go for the guitar stuff. Guthrie Govan, I love him. Scott Henderson, Carnival from Tribal Tech, amazing guitar player. Mark Lettieri, this is another one I really enjoyed.
Good record.
And Aurora Clara, I'll throw that one in there. These guys are really good.
Good record.
That one's a little more acoustic based than the earlier stuff, but it's fantastic.
All right, talk to me about that Aurora Clara record, because as I was like doing just some cursory research, so that it didn't sound really stupid, at least I would know some of the names. That name kept popping up. Who are they?
They're and George, you're probably better at where they're from.
Spain.
But Spain, okay. And same thing. I think Ken Golden kind of tipped us off. I can't remember if it was you, George, or Ken. But this one's kind of pulled back a little bit. But their first couple are really cool fusion records. So I think you should check them out.
Okay.
We do play them.
They've got a proggy side to them as well.
Hey, you know what I was told? Once upon a time, I was told that the best live streams are the ones that people are actually watching while it's live, even though 80% of our views come from VOD, come from video on demand after the fact, which is actually really heartwarming. It means we're doing something right? It's not that this show's only exciting and interesting to watch while it's live. People will actually watch it a week from now, 2 weeks from now. That's kind of cool because most live streams die. Right? The minute they're over, the views are dead automatically. So do your boy a solid and hit that like button. We're going to trick the algorithm today, right? Because the more people that hit that like button, the more it gets shared out, right? And we can get that number a little bit higher because we're talking about jazz fusion, boys and girls, something we rarely do. So we really wanted to try to make a big deal out of it by bringing the big guns in, bringing Eric Porter in, bringing George Lamie in, and Brad Stone from soulandjazz.com. I know you've got a couple more records you want to talk about. But I am so sorry. You'll get used to being on the live stream. They all get used to it sooner or later, Kevin, right? I'm going to interrupt you every chance I get. But I just want to say the very first person who ever put a comment on one of my videos over 3 years ago, it's Molly Whipple is in the house. Oh, Molly, yes, indeed. Thank you so much for being a supporter of this channel, literally from day one. That's pretty cool. You know who the second person to ever comment on a video in the Prog Corner, Kevin?
I have no idea.
This is a good one. How about Kevin from Monarch Trail?
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool. Right? Oh, Ken Barnes. Right? Isn't that his name?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ken Barnes, I believe, yeah.
Ken, not Kevin. Yeah, he was the second person to ever leave a comment, but Molly was the first. So what do you got for me, Brad?
I got a few more. This is a bass player out of Los Angeles, Mauricio Morales, and this is a fusion record. So
yes, I know it's Ken.
Fusion fans are gonna.
I am such an idiot. I have Kevin sitting next to me in the house here, and I was thinking, Kevin, of course it's Ken. I apologize. I am an idiot, by the way. Hey, we mentioned Jesus Molina, right?
Yep.
Yep, George.
You weren't here from the beginning. Bad viewer. Go back, watch it from the start. No, I know you want to watch it live. I get that. Let's do a solo at Kiefer because it's the Cincinnati Bengals hat. There you go. Okay, Brad, back to you.
Okay, so I was mentioning this one, Mauricio Morales out of Los Angeles. 7 Days is his record from 2024. Really solid fusion record. Love it. There's a keyboardist out of the UK. He plays with Antonio Sanchez's band. That's how I first discovered him. He's got a new record out called The Epicenter of Your Dreams, John Escrete. I think this is one of those records that would appeal to fusion fans. Maybe it's not fusion in the narrow definition that we talked about before, but I do think that his playing and his compositions will appeal to fusion heads. Similarly, keyboardist Monica Herzig and her group She Rose, really all-star.
Look at that thing.
All-star band of all-women band, and they're all great players. Leanie Stern is on here. This is her latest one, All in Good Time. Monica was on the faculty at the prestigious Indiana University School of Music. And she's originally from Germany and now has moved to Austria. But really a great lineup, and her own compositions are really outstanding.
Is it just me, or is that like the coolest album cover ever? I don't know why.
I think it's just you.
I love that thing. That's awesome.
Well, like Eric was saying, he's really kind of focuses in on guitarists, and I really focus in on keyboardists. So you will learn.
Brad, speaking of, I forgot to mention this guy, I believe, Roman Bondarenko.
Let's see that again.
Yeah, let's see it again.
Not sure if you can see it or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I can see
I
it.
can see the
Shades
I
title.
don't know that
Style.
one.
Shades of Style. This guy's killer guitar player.
Cool.
I had to get him in because that was probably my favorite of the year.
That's right. We got to put it on the permanent record, because that's the thing about these shows, boys and girls. People watch them forever. So once it's on the permanent record and they're like, why do you care so much? Why are you so fixated about the peanut gallery and you're watching stuff? Because, I like to put the good stuff on here so that people will see it forever. Like someone mentioning Tal Wilkenfield will always get, presented. Absolutely an amazing bass player. She's great. She's so great.
She's awesome. Well, here's one I think will appeal to fusion heads. The group Daggerboard,
Cool
and they're
name.
led by trumpeter Eric Jacobson. And you see the great Mike Clark also on this record. Mike's been very active lately on a lot of records, including his own. And the wonderful bassist Henry the Skipper Franklin on here. Definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
And the wonderful saxophonist, who I think most people in the rock world know from his work with Dave Matthews Band, but Jeff Coffin. And his records are a very interesting form of fusion. And Only the Horizon is the name of Jeff's latest record. All of Jeff's records are worth checking out. Here's another group that I think, while maybe some wouldn't consider them fusion in the strictest sense, but I do think would appeal to fusion, people who are into fusion, but that's the Bad Plus. And the Bad Plus, their records in the original lineup of the band, piano, bass, and drums, but they would take different songs that we're familiar with, let's say from the rock and pop world, and sort of deconstruct them and reconstruct them. And so I've always found them really, really appealing. Yes, Jeff Coffin was with the Flecktones as well. That's right.
My people know their stuff, man. You can't get nothing past this peanut gallery. Absolutely not. So watch your P's and Q's, Brad.
So that's yes, I failed to mention that, didn't I? But Jeff's played around, and great guy. The Bad Plus now, it's Reed Anderson and Dave King on bass and drums, the original bassist and drummer, but now with Ben Monder on guitar and Chris Speed on tenor sax. So instead of having a keyboardist, they have this lineup, and they continue to put out interesting stuff.
Brad, we've gone 38 minutes and 49 seconds without me asking the most important question of today's episode, and that is, Kiefer, what's going on, man?
Yeah, everything's going on.
Talk to me. Talk to me, bro. What are you doing?
I'm sitting here on the couch, but I'm hearing about a lot of music, and I don't have a piece of paper in front of me, so I haven't been writing things down. Talk
to me about jazz fusion, your experience with it, why you're on the stream today, etc.
I am the representative for all people on YouTube on the Prog Corner that are not Boomer or Gen X. So I have to deal with being the youngster. And I have to tell all these people that say Prog is dead, fusion is dead. No, they're not dead. You're dead. That's the problem. You got to get out of your shell. You got to listen.
Get off of my lawn.
Just as, yeah, the stuff's good. I was surprised to learn. I remember, George, you did that listening party on Grant Arthur's channel. I told George and I told Scott and a couple other people this story. I show up I start playing Japanese fusion to a bunch of people. And somebody walks up to me and goes, "Oh, I know that. That's Japanese fusion." And I'm like, people my age know who Tetsuo Sakurai is. And I think it's through those Japanese movies or whatever. What do you call them, Scott? You would know this better than me.
No, I
What
don't
they
know.
call
There's
the-
a whole.
I
You got
don't
all
know.
the anime stuff that has all that music.
Yeah, that's
in
what
it.
they call it.
Yeah.
And they will reference all the old prog bands
Oh,
and all
yeah,
the
they
old
do.
fusion bands. So yeah, but it was weird, and it's and I start Fragile, and people know Fragile, and all these old bands. Now they're not old, but I start playing Return to Forever. Nobody knows who it is, but Japanese fusion, everybody knows through who these Japanese fusion players through these Japanese movies.
Yeah,
And
Japan's a weird market anyway, though.
Yeah, they need their extra song on every album, and
They do. What's
that.
with that? Why do they need that? And why do they got to have? What's with that Obie strip, man? Why do they need that? That's I love it, but why doesn't Finland have an Obie strip?
I throw them out. I don't care about it.
I hate throwing them out.
No, you can't throw them out. Come on, Kiefer. You
Gotta
can't.
keep them.
George, you agree with me, right?
I throw them out. Yeah.
I don't care
stuff them
about
in
it.
with the CD.
It has
I
to
hate
be
throwing them
something.
out.
It's got to be something I really like if I want to keep the Obie strip.
Okay.
But yeah,
I guess it's just me. All right, here's a question from the Peanut Gallery. Not a question, but Black Midi is
A
kind
statement.
of jazz fusion. They have their moments, right? That Jordy Griep solo album had plenty of jazz fusion moments, I thought. So there's plenty of like fusion hiding in plain sight, as it were, out there. Go on. What else you got, Kiefer? Entertain the crowd. The people are liking you. The numbers keep going. The more you talk, the more the numbers jump. Hit that like button, boys and girls. Absolutely. Trick the algorithm. Let them think this is a good stream or something.
I am obviously the newbie of newbies here because I have a stack of fusion albums, and there's maybe 2 of them, and they're all from the 70s. But I just heard I heard the new Crocophant recently.
Yeah.
That was really, really good stuff. So that's all I have, really all the room to plug.
I'm
that
with
I've
you.
heard
That new
so far.
Crocophant. Outstanding. And one of my favorite records of the last few years was pretty fusiony. Seven and Pale kind of plays around with jazz fusion a whole bunch. What do you think about that last album, Summit, Kevin? Did you that Seven and Pale? Do you hear any fusion in that kind of stuff? Because I do. I hear a ton of it. Modu Mokhtar. Sure, why not? There's fusion and that guy's playing, no doubt. But I wouldn't call it jazz fusion. Not necessarily. Dixie Dregs. There you go. I think we can all agree they had their moments. But, they fused so much stuff all together.
Yeah, they're everything.
Into a stew.
Yeah.
Who knows what they were? I never figured them out. I don't think they even figured themselves out, But
The great
that was
T.
kind of-
Labbits, rest in peace.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We had a couple people just that we should probably shout out to that lost their lives. What's his name from Badfinger, right? One of the last remaining member. Then we had David Johansen.
David Johansen. Yeah.
Last remaining member of New York Dolls. So. Joey Molin. Thank you, Kyle. I couldn't remember his name. Joey Molin. Great band. Yeah, that's the thing about being a fan of this old-timey kind of music is, I started like the first year I had the channel, I did it in memoriam, like, artists who left us and, A, it's really sad and depressing. And B, I started like keeping a list the second year, and I'm like, this list is just going to get longer and longer and longer every single year. It's going to get more and more depressing and sad. I'm not going to do it. Absolutely not. What else you got for me, Brad? I know you came in with a stack. You were prepared. Like I said, this was going to be the Brad Stone show, but I figured it'd be more fun to bring, Eric and Georgia, like the experts, like the big guys, the YouTube superstars. So I definitely wanted to snag them. And then me and Kevin are just sitting here like writing notes, right?
I do know this though. Don't be throwing those Obie strips away. That makes them more valuable. You're supposed to hang on to those. That's part of the originality of them. Do you know what it means? OBI. It's like the sash of a kimono. That's what it means. The sash. And so hang on to those.
I thought it was like an abbreviation, OBI.
It's OBI, but I think it means sash or belt, like you put around a kimono.
I just think it looks cool, so I never throw them away.
Well, most people throw them away, and that's why they're rare if you keep them.
Yeah, keep them rare. Throw them out like George and I.
Yeah, never throw away.
If you ever intend to resell, you got to keep them.
Yeah.
Well, nobody buys stuff with the intent, unless you're like a flipper, one of those guys that has, the Discog business up and running. That's what you're doing.
Which of us old guys would not love to have our original vinyl collection that we probably threw out when we replaced them all with CDs?
No doubt.
Fortunately, I've got most of my vinyl collection.
Yeah,
There's a few things I got rid of. I got rid of. I'll just give you an example. Back in my late teens, I really was into the first two Soft Machine albums. Really influential. And then Soft Machine 3 came out, and I didn't understand it at the time. Didn't dig it, and now I'm kicking myself, right, for getting rid of that one. So. But most of it I still have.
Yeah, I systematically would replace them one by one with CDs, and then eventually I'd pretty much replaced everything. And then I moved one time. I'm like, oh, these are so heavy, and I got rid of them all. And that's a sad tale.
That's a common tale.
And then you go back and buy them all again on reissue.
Right. Well, I just want to say that as we're losing the elders. In jazz and in progressive rock, which is, it's sad and it's happening more and more. But fortunately, we've got a lot of young people coming along doing great music. And, in the jazz world, I mean, it's incredible what some of these young composers and players are doing. One of the things that I see, and I know that we're supposed to be talking about fusion, but big bands are really coming back with young people leading them and incredible compositions and arrangements. So it's something that I've been really interested in recent years, and it warms the heart to know that younger people are not only keeping it going but advancing it. Right, jazz keeps progressing. I got a couple of releases here from 2025 that I want to mention, and these are well-known groups. So
we're not just all about the oldie goldies, boys and girls. Yeah. You see a bunch of old faces on here and one young kid, but we're talking about releases from 2025. It doesn't get any more relevant than that. Come on, man. Oh, keeping it real with Brad Stone and company. This is awesome. What do you got?
Well, these are a couple of well-known groups, and I just want to say that, I'm learning from all of you guys. I got a whole list of things now that I got to go out and purchase, so you're costing me money. But again, these are everything that I've got here is, stuff I've been sent for my program. The new Yellow Jackets record, it's really strong. Yellow Jackets, if you're a Yellow Jackets fan, you're really going to dig this one. They're branching out a little bit in a couple of numbers, a little bit more experimental. I really dig this record.
Wow.
And then, and I ran into him in New York at the Jazz Congress in January, and he handed me his brand new album. Steve Smith, the great drummer.
Dropper. Let's see that.
Steve Smith, the new album, his new Vital Information album. Okay. It's basically a trio with Manuel Valera on keyboards, great keyboardist, and Yannick Guizdala on bass. And interesting thing about this record, so he calls it New Perspective. And Vital Information over the years, in the early years, it was heavy duty jazz rock fusion, then went into more of a straight ahead jazz kind of vibe. And this record is both. He's there. Some of them are fusion numbers, some of them are real jazz numbers. But here's the surprising thing, especially given the history of the band Journey that Steve Smith was in. They do a couple of Journey tunes on here that Manuel has arranged, and they're great. They're great versions. So, songs that we're familiar with from AOR radio, right? But I really recommend
why not?
it.
You gotta move some units, man. Just I used to be in a big band ain't good enough because nobody cares. Every time that guy plays live, they probably are expecting at least one Journey song to make the list. And it's like, I don't care if you're in the Pete Roth band or not, Bill Bruford. There's gonna be some drunk idiot out there play roundabout. It's just the nature of the beast. That's how it's gonna be, right? Steve Smith, good on him for actually being proactive, right? Now it's actually already in the set list.
Well, and they're really, as I say, great arrangements. I mean, Manuel really turns them into a jazz piano trio thing, and it works.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised that Steve was open to the idea of doing a couple of Journey tunes, but pleasantly surprised. I'll show a few more. This is a keyboardist out of Chicago, Greg Murphy, and some of this I think you would definitely classify as jazz fusion. He's a wonderful pianist, keyboardist, and composer. The album "You Remind Me," that's a picture of his wife on the cover.
I saw that out in the wild, and I thought it was like a new Tracy Chapman record.
Yeah, she kind of does look like Tracy Chapman when she was younger, yeah. From out here in the San Francisco Bay Area, just up north of me, there's a guitarist who's been around for a long time, well known in the Bay Area, and his own brand of jazz funk fusion, Ray Obiedo. So it's kind of jazz funk with some Latin elements. Very cool.
Don't know that one. Never heard of him.
We spoke about Dave King before, from the Bad Plus, but he's also in a group called Happy Apple out of New York. So this was the latest one, New York CD. I got my glasses on, I still can't read. New York CD.
Oh, look at that! Look at that little kitty cat. Oh, that thing's adorable.
Yeah, that cat hates me. Hated me since it moved in.
I was hoping that my little black mini panther would be up here with me. Usually he is when I'm sitting at my radio studio, my home studio, sitting at my console, and when I'm recording a radio program, he's generally underneath my feet and wants a belly rub at that time. So he's my co-producer.
Hey Molly, I got news for you. Let me spell out what the actual Freebird quadrangle is. It's not Richmond to Memphis to Baton Rouge to Jacksonville. That's a nice theory. But the actual Freebird quadrangle for any actual musician who's ever been in a cover band is from Miami to San Diego to Seattle to Portland, Maine. Mm-hmm. That's the Freebird quadrangle, because every bar in every single city in between those four, some fool's going to be asking for Freebird. I mean, every band I've ever been in, I could have been in like a hardcore punk band. There's going to be one drunk idiot asking for Freebird. Happens every show. I don't know why. It's a terrible song.
Have any of you ever been to a fusion show and had that happen? Or is that just a nightmare of mine?
I don't know.
No.
I don't
just
think
a fucking bar thing, I think.
That's just so wrong.
Mm-hmm. Coming next, Kiefer Livingston presents the Fusion Freebird.
Give me one more, Brad. If there's one record there's one thing you want my people to walk away from today and say, whoa, and it can be a retread from something we talked about in the first half of the hour. You know how it is. It's an hour show, but I go back in my analytics and the majority of people only watch about half. So, I say the same thing many, many times in a 1 hour span, and most people don't even catch it. So what do you, Mark Monforti's in the house. Oh, the boss is here. I was wondering if the boss was going to show up. The man who's going to be signing all our paychecks before too long. How you doing, Mark? Okay. One last one, Brad. What do you got?
This is just at the top of a pile of CDs that I used on my show last week when I recorded, and I think I'm using it again on a production that I'm going to do today. Speaking of big bands, but also speaking of fusion, this is a really cool record. Russ Annixter's hippie big band. They do a killer big band arrangement of the Allman Brothers band's Whipping Post. So cool. It's on my current show. And then they also do What Is Hip? And consequently, the title of the album, What Is? So, Dixie Chicken, Heaven on Their Minds. I mean, it's a Green Hornet. It's really, it's crazy, but it really works. So I'd highly recommend checking that out.
Oh, a new Shakti album. I haven't heard anything about that. Is there a new Shakti in 2024?
There might be.
Maybe means a new one coming out in 2025. I don't know. Anyway, boys and girls, we're pressed up against for time because as all you good boys and girls know, once we get past that 60-minute mark, I start hearing like weird noises, like doors start opening and closing just a little bit louder than they were during the stream. Dishes start getting like put away like extremely loudly. Notes start getting slipped underneath the door. So we're gonna wrap this up. This is this may be the first of many, Brad Stone. This was a lot of fun, but it wouldn't have worked without the golden glowing expertise of my two favorite contributors to Sea of Tranquility, Eric Porter, George Lamie. Eric, thank you so much. What do you got going on this week? What's new? What's new with you?
We're always doing homework, and here's one kind of like what Brad said. George showed me this. Josh,
I can't see.
oh, sorry.
There you go.
This is a new one from 2025. Great guitar player. Check him out. Awesome.
What's his name, Eric?
It's Josh Meader, Meader.
George, what do you got going for the boys and girls in YouTube land? I know you're everywhere these days. Where can we find your act? Where's the Dog and Pony Show hitched up to?
We are recording a new For Fusion Friday this week for broadcast on Friday, first Friday of every month. We do a For Fusion Friday show, and topic this month is bands with numbers in their name.
Oh, nice.
It's one of every now and then I like to take a more obscure look at a topic, so that struck me as a good one.
How long have you been doing that show over there at Sea of Tranquility, that fusion show?
April will be 3 years.
Okay. It's probably the longest running fusion show on all of YouTube. Check it out. George, you are one of a kind, and absolutely, the first person I had in my mind when, we decided to do this episode. Get the people here, and the best way to do that is bring the experts. Kiefer, did you learn anything today?
Oh, yeah. That's why I kept my mouth shut.
Now, we are going to have you back, but probably not until we do our Dream Theater ranking.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So I don't have a date for that, but we do have some other dates, Kevin. Next week, March 9th, we got Jonas Reingold in the house. I mean, how cool is that? Brand new album, Car Mechanic Transmutation. And then March 16th, Norway's Sycophant. They've got a brand new EP coming out. Excited about that. Then March 23rd, we're going to bring the whole gang back together, do an old school Sunday live stream where we're going to pick 4 albums from 1977 and rank them, talk about them, all that kind of crazy stuff. March 30th, it's going to be Nectar. The 10 best Nectar albums, hopefully with Mo more. We're talking to Mo. Hopefully we'll get him on. And then April 13th, man, I'm so excited. We got none other than Steve Babb from Glass Hammer going to be joining the Prog Corner as we help kick off Glass Hammer Week. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So, yeah, that's going to be that's our lineup for the Sunday Prog streams. Who said the Sunday live stream would be a failure? Whoever said that, you were wrong. You were dead wrong. And let me tell you something, Kevin. Every single person said that. They said, don't do it. You'll get burnt out. You'll get bored. You'll run out of episode ideas. Every excuse in the book. I figured it out what it was. They just didn't want me to be on the air every Sunday because they knew it would work. And they wanted to silence me. They wanted to keep me quiet. You can't muzzle me, man. You can't. There's no mute button. Well, actually there is. But Kevin, what's going on Prog Radio this week?
Our usual stuff. I mean, we got all our tons of weekly shows people can tune in for. The one thing I will say is we need to get some of these people doing guest DJ spots on Prog Radio, because then you can play all this great music for us. So
okay, email
me or whatever, and that would be great, because people would love to hear this stuff, not just talk about it, but you can hear it on the show. So yeah. Oh, and then speaking of young, up-and-coming people, what do you got going on tomorrow on your regular show?
Oh, buddy boy, we've got an amazing thing happened over the course of the last couple weeks. Some dude nobody ever heard of just like popped up from nowhere and took the prog world by storm. It's none other than a young man from Quebec, Canada. We shouldn't be talking about a Canadian on an all-American panel, but that's okay. We'll make an exception. They are the 51st state after all. We've got none other than Jacob Roberge, whose debut album, The Passing, just came out. It's amazing. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's loving it. Kevin, you're going to be instrumental in getting him included on Prog Archives.
Yeah, hopefully he might be there as we speak. Any day now. They've accepted him and they're putting it up, so any day he'll be there.
Yeah, so Monday, tomorrow, 11 a.m., we're talking to Jacob, and his running mate William plays most of the guitar on the album. Oh, so good. If you haven't heard it, you absolutely need to check it out. It's all over the YouTube. You can find it. Jacob Roberge, The Passing. That's Monday. Tuesday, I'm going to be ranking the albums of Cheap Trick. What do you think about that, Eric?
I love Cheap Trick.
You like Cheap Trick?
Robin, I don't like many singers, but Robin Zander always does it for me.
Wow, Eric Zander giving approval to a singer. This
absolutely
never happens.
Just amazing. And I got a couple other things in store. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to be looking at all the great records that are fixing to come out between now and May. This is insane. If you're a prog rock fan, you've got Ghost of the Machine coming out. The same day as Jethro Tull, the same day as Ekelin, the same day as Car Mechanic. All coming out Friday. This Friday.
And then next week,
and then
Steven
the week
Wilson.
after that, I don't know, some dude named Steven Wilson, right? And then IQ a couple weeks after that. And then Solstice and Imaginarium. Mark Monforti with the double hammer, right? A little double hammer of greatness there. April 11th, Glass Hammer comes out. April 25th, Neil Morris, Phil Kagi. Who's that guy on drums? Oh, I don't know. Chester Thompson. Cosmic Cathedral comes out. May 2nd, The Flower Kings comes out. Their new album, Love. The same day, Japan's Yuka and Chrono Ship, finally on a label that might actually get them some attention. Cherry Red picked them up for their new album. And then the one that's, I'm already predicting it. It's not even, it's the second day of March. I'm predicting it already. That my album of the year might be the brand new Jean-Pierre Louboutin album. It's called the
You got both of them?
Postscriptum. I just have the new one, not the remake.
Okay.
He's got two albums coming out. One is a remake of an album he had already produced a few years back, and a brand new album. And it's almost like feels like the Sapiens trilogy, like maybe like leftover tracks, because it's in the same universe. And on the cover, you still see like that ape thing, you know. So I know there's a connection, but I don't speak French. I don't care. It would probably spoil the enjoyment. But yeah, May 12th, JPL Postscriptum. Oh man, it's good. Oh, I'm just dying over here. I've listened to it like 20 times in the last 24 hours, Kevin. It's ridiculous.
That's
I hate it when that happens. Anyway, boys and girls, this was an amazing show. Talking a little bit about jazz fusion, right?
I've got a big list. I got some homework, man.
Yeah, we all do, man. This is like exposure therapy, right? You can't just throw it all at you at once. You got to like tiptoe into it, put your little toe into that cold ass swimming pool. For Kevin from Prog Radio, from Kiefer from Dayton, my good friend Brad Stone from the Bay Area, who this episode is most definitely dedicated to. The two giants of the genre, legends of YouTube, Eric Porter. Thank you so much, George. I can't believe I got both of you guys to show up on the Prog Corner today. It's a dream come true. Only thing that could be better is if that day that John Anderson and Rick Wakeman say yes, but I'm not holding my breath. That's okay. I'm a loudmouth American. Nobody wants to be on this show with this guy because I'm the star of this show, and I think that's a problem. That's the problem right there. Humble people like Steve Hackett and Andy Haslam, they're fine being on this show, right? Greg Spotton, he's a humble man. He's okay, right? He'll come on the show, but we don't want that anyway. You know what we want to do, Kevin? We want to dance with snakes. Oh, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dance with them snakes. Oh, King Chucky's going to be coming to America. Oh, and we're going to dance with snakes, and we're going to drink poison, and these rattlesnakes are venomous, but that's all right, because America's the land of the free, the home of the brave, and an all-American panel. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow when we are talking to the one and only Jacob Roberge, that great brand new artist from the 51st state. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.